Welcome to Sleepy Classic Tales. Tonight, I am telling you our own calm, gently narrated short version of The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, written by F. Scott Fitzgerald and first published in 1922. In this story, everything begins where most stories would end, with an old man. But not just any old man. It is September 18th, 1860, in Baltimore, USA. Roger Button, a wealthy businessman, hurries to the hospital full of anticipation. He is expecting the birth of his first son. He is nervous, but happy, the way young fathers are. But when the nurse looks at him, pale and confused, he senses that something is different. She leads him into the room, and there, in a wooden crib, there is no baby. Instead, there sits an old man, completely wrinkled, with white hair, a weak voice, and tired eyes. The man, or the baby, looks at Roger and actually speaks. "Good evening, sir." Roger Button freezes. He thinks it is a cruel joke, but the doctors explain calmly. The child is physically old and mentally remarkably clear. Yet it is, in fact, a newborn, a medical mystery no one can understand. Roger does not want to believe it. He refuses to accept this reality. He insists on dressing the child immediately in typical baby clothes, even though they are far too small. Still, he does it, out of shock, out of shame, and out of the desperate attempt to create normality. He names the boy Benjamin Button. At home, the situation is no easier. Mrs. Button nearly collapses when she sees her son. The old man in the crib feels like a stranger, not like a baby. But Benjamin himself is polite, gentle, almost apologetic. He understands that he is different. He feels that his parents are struggling with him. And while other babies learn to sit up and crawl, Benjamin Button sits in a rocking chair in the nursery, reads books, asks for tea, and politely requests that his blanket be folded neatly. He does not continue to age. On the contrary, with every month his movements become easier, his back straighter, his voice stronger. His parents do not notice it clearly at first, but slowly, very slowly, the old man in the crib becomes younger. And with that begins a life story that defies all logic. Benjamin's childhood is unlike any other. While his parents hope he will normalize, Benjamin himself has long since realized that something unusual is changing. With every year, he loses a few wrinkles. His back straightens. His movements become smoother. He feels physically stronger, as if he is growing out of the old man's body. But there is no place for this in society. When Benjamin is 5 years old, his parents insist on treating him as a completely normal child. They are ashamed of his appearance and hope no one notices. But how do you explain to visitors why the baby is sitting in the parlor talking about politics? How do you explain to a neighbor why the child would rather sit in an armchair than play with toys? The Buttons do what most people of that time would do. They ignore the truth and hope no one asks questions. Benjamin, meanwhile, loves books. He reads everything he can get his hands on: history, poetry, natural science. His mind develops like an adult's, even while his body grows younger. At 12, he looks like a man in his mid-50s. His back is straight, his face smoother, but still marked by traces of a timeless existence. Roger Button decides to send his son to a private school, but it quickly becomes clear there that Benjamin fits neither with the children nor with the teachers. The boys mock him because he looks like their grandfather. The adults speak to him like a colleague. Teachers forget he is a student and debate philosophy with him. And yet, inside, Benjamin is still a boy. He wants to play, wants to belong, wants to laugh like everyone else. But his body betrays him. He spends many hours alone, reading, observing, thinking. The younger he becomes, the more he realizes he will live a life no one else will understand. When Benjamin turns 17, something decisive happens. For the first time, his body reaches a kind of human balance. He looks like a man around 40. He has strength, an upright posture, and suddenly appears like a fully grown adult. Roger Button breathes a sigh of relief. At last, a son he can proudly present to the world. Benjamin, for the first time, no longer feels like an outsider in his own family. He begins to explore the world, goes out, learns music and dance, and slowly discovers that life can be beautiful. But he has no idea that while he moves toward youth, the coming years will change everything. When Benjamin, in his 20s, looks like he is in his mid-30s, he feels truly free for the first time. His body matches his mental maturity, and no one asks strange questions anymore. He moves through society with ease and begins to live a life he could never have imagined as a child. One evening, he attends a ball with his father, a grand event among Baltimore's high society. The hall is filled with music, laughter, and the scent of perfume. Benjamin wears a tuxedo for the first time that truly suits him. He looks confident, upright, and full of curiosity about the world. There he meets Hildegard Moncrief, the daughter of a general, young, full of life, and impressed by Benjamin's serious, calm manner. She sees in him a mature, dependable man with steady values, not knowing that this man is in fact younger than she is. For Benjamin, it is an overwhelming moment. He has never experienced someone looking at him simply as he is, without discomfort, without pity, without doubt. They dance together, talk for a long time, and Benjamin feels something like belonging for the first time. Hildegard falls in love quickly, and so does Benjamin. She admires his maturity and his gentle nature, unaware of the secret he carries. They marry soon after. For a while, everything seems perfect. Benjamin becomes a successful businessman, works in his father's company, and enjoys the life of a man in his prime. But while his wife slowly grows older, the opposite happens to Benjamin. His body becomes younger, his face smoother, his posture lighter, his walk more youthful. Hildegard barely notices at first. She assumes her husband simply takes good care of himself. But after a few years, the change is impossible to miss. Benjamin now looks like a man of 30, while Hildegard moves toward 40. The harmony between them begins to waver. Benjamin feels energy, a thirst for adventure, and a kind of youthful boldness he never got to live out. He is still fully adult in mind, but his body demands something else. New life, young life. He begins to change. He wants to go out, play sports, travel. He suddenly has dreams that were impossible in his older childhood. Hildegard, on the other hand, longs for stability, a quieter life, something Benjamin can no longer give her. Slowly, a distance grows between them, not from lack of love, but from biological irony. And when Roger Button dies and Benjamin has to take over the family business, the next problem appears. The business world does not accept a leader who looks as if he has just turned 20. Benjamin senses that his life will not move in the direction everyone else follows. With every year that passes, he loses a little more of the adult world and slides relentlessly toward a direction no one can follow. While the world around Benjamin grows older, the opposite happens in his body. In the morning, he looks into the mirror and sees a younger version of himself every year. Smooth skin, clearer eyes, shoulders that once felt heavy become light as air. But this rejuvenation leads him into a life that collides more and more with everyone else. His marriage, once built on admiration and affection, begins to fall apart. Hildegard grows older and needs rest, security, predictability. Benjamin does not. A strange fire awakens in him, curiosity, drive, the hunger for new experiences. He wants to travel, play sports, try what was denied to him as an older child. He tries to suppress it to be fair to his wife, but it becomes harder and harder to succeed. Eventually, he withdraws. He works less, spends time in clubs, meets young people who see him as their peer. Yet inside, he remains the man who once carried responsibility, started a family, and understood the world as an adult. This conflict eats at him. At the same time, his professional future is at risk. The younger he looks, the more authority he loses. Business partners begin to whisper, "He is far too young. Who would take him seriously?" The appearance of a 25-year-old does not fit a company president. Benjamin feels his father's legacy slipping through his fingers. Eventually, he leaves the firm, not by choice, but by necessity. He looks like a young man headed into student life, and the world treats him that way. Benjamin moves to another city where no one knows his true story. He enrolls at a university, not for the first time in his life, but for the second. There he experiences something astonishing. He blossoms. Not because he looks young, but because he finally behaves the way his body demands. He studies, plays sports, builds friendships, and for a short time he lives a normal life. But this normality is deceptive. While his classmates grow older, Benjamin continues to grow younger. He no longer stands out for maturity, but for something else. An unnatural lightness, carrying too much youth. In his 20s, he suddenly looks 17. Professors wonder whether he is old enough to be admitted to exams at all. Friends move on, begin careers, start families, and Benjamin is left behind in a body that fits less and less into this world. He realizes he must say goodbye again, as he did to his marriage, his profession, his life as an adult man. He packs his things and moves once more, this time without a destination. He searches for a place where he does not stand out, where he does not hurt anyone, and where no one notices that time is carrying him in the wrong direction. And while his outer world grows smaller, a growing pain remains inside him. Benjamin Button knows he can never stand still. He does not only live differently than others, he lives against time itself. The years pass, and Benjamin feels time pulling farther and farther away from him. While other people grow older, he loses, piece by piece, everything that once made him an adult. His handwriting becomes rounder, smaller, his skin smoother, his movements lighter. And with each month that passes, a new feeling appears. Memories that used to be sharp grow soft, blur like colors in the rain. He now lives alone in a small house in the countryside. People think he is a young man living quietly, but no one suspects that this young man has an entire lifetime behind him, a life that is slowly slipping away. Benjamin keeps a diary, at first carefully, then irregularly, and finally only in short, reflective sentences. He notices his language changing. He loses words, his thoughts drift. What once sounded mature and clear becomes simpler. One day he realizes he can no longer fill an entire page. He writes, "I am getting younger. I am afraid I will forget who I was." But the forgetting cannot be stopped. After some more years, Benjamin has the appearance of a 16-year-old. He lives quietly, inconspicuously, and avoids people, afraid someone will recognize that something is not right. At the same time, he experiences moments of surprising freedom. He runs faster than he ever could as an old man. He feels an energy he never knew. He climbs trees, goes swimming, and for the first time he enjoys physical youth. But he does it alone. Then comes the next phase. With every year, his world grows smaller. His clothes become too big, his legs thinner, his voice higher. He moves into the home of his son Roscoe. Roscoe is now an adult, a strong man with a family of his own, and Benjamin now looks like Roscoe's younger brother. Roscoe loves his father, but he does not know how to deal with this strange development. He takes care of him, gives him a room, but emotionally it is hard for him to watch his own father turn into a boy. Benjamin often feels lost. He senses warmth and affection, but he understands less and less. His memories fade faster than he can notice. The day comes when he can barely form sentences. The day Roscoe has to explain to him how to tie his shoes. Then comes childhood. But not the first, his second. Benjamin becomes a boy of 10, then a child of 8, then a small boy who would rather play with wooden blocks than think about the past. He no longer remembers Hildegard, not the university, not the business, not his first life as an old man in a rocking chair. All of it is gone like sand in the wind. Roscoe and his wife care for him as if he were their own son. He learns again to play, to laugh, to run, not by choice, but because his mind no longer understands that he was once someone else. The world around him grows bigger, more changeable, more confusing, like a room whose doors can no longer be found. Eventually, he becomes a toddler. He sits on the floor, reaches for the hands of the people he loves without knowing why he loves them. He speaks in single syllables, smiles often, cries quickly, sleeps a lot. Almost nothing remains of his old life. His final weeks are spent as an infant in Roscoe's arms. The world is warm, gentle, and without meaning. He knows no time, no names, no past. He sees only colors, hears voices, feels hands holding him. And then the world becomes quieter, darker, smaller. Benjamin Button closes his eyes, not in the death of an old man, but in the falling asleep of a child. A life that moved backward ends quietly, and with a calm he hardly ever knew while living it. That was our calm, short version of The Curious Case of Benjamin Button by F. Scott Fitzgerald. Maybe, while listening, you wondered what Benjamin's reverse aging truly says about our society, and what personal view of time, success, and impermanence Fitzgerald placed into this story. We explore these and many other questions in our companion book, Golden Pages, Volume 1. The link can be found in the description. Good night. And if you like, we will listen to each other again tomorrow.